Welcome back. Some of you, possibly many of you, know Paul Finebaum as the college football and Southeastern Conference football guru. Earlier this year, however, he considered quite seriously a career change, and he came very close to launching a Republican Senate bid in Alabama. Here's part of my conversation with Paul and why he decided against running. Why, ultimately, Paul, did you say no?
Being in this cauldron for 3 months, I saw the path. I dealt with donors. I dealt with a lot of people, and at various moments, and I'll get to the final reason in a minute, but they kept rushing me in. Even Coach Tuberville called me at one point and said, "You can't wait much longer. You got to get in FEC files. You got to show you're legitimate." So fine. So I kept putting it off, but ultimately the reason I couldn't do it was the political operatives. Now, I know this sounds like I'm blaming something on other people, but I'm not. I'm just telling you the reality that you already know. They told me the clearest and cleanest path to victory, I was running as a Republican in Alabama, was to run, and I'm just going to paraphrase the political operatives' words, you need to run against woke Disney. And I could not do it. I could not burn down the place I had worked for the last 13 years that had given me an opportunity as a Birmingham talk show host and use whatever you may think of Disney, and plenty of people have opinions. Disney owns ESPN, for those of you who don't know.
Right.
I couldn't do it. And they said, I had several very prominent people, including two senators, sitting senators, tell me that's your path. I mean, there are many other paths, obviously, to win a primary in Alabama, but they thought that was the cleanest path. And it was, my wife one night said to me, can you do that? Can you literally tear down and torch whether you agree or disagree with everything they do, and nobody agrees or disagrees with their parent company? I think I can speak for you as well.
You most certainly can.
And I knew I could. And I just couldn't, in the end, that factor alone, that was at the top of the pyramid, as well as many other things. And secondarily, and maybe even equal, was saying things that I was not comfortable with. You can say whatever you want about me, polarizing, mouth of the South, always ripping coaches. But the one thing I've always wanted to do on a program is bring people together and let them fight within under the tent. And I couldn't get up there and just draw a line and say, I'm for you and I'm against you. It was against everything in every fiber of my body.
That reference you heard to Coach Tuberville is a reference to Senator Tommy Tuberville, who's not seeking re-election. That created this whole dynamic for Paul. Paul and I also, of course, discussed the upcoming college football playoff, including Notre Dame's frustration at being left out. Let's get to the other arena, the arena that fascinates me most and that is part of your international stardom, college football. You've been very critical of Notre Dame this week. Some of my audience is read in on that. Some of it isn't. Summarize for them why you are down on Notre Dame and its attitude about being left out of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I'll spare you how good a football team they had this year, because they really weren't that great. They went 10-2. They lost the only meaningful games that they had at the beginning of the season, and that's what cost them getting in the CFP, which is the college football playoff. They went on a run after that, beating a bunch of nobodies. Their best win after that was Southern Cal, which, when I was younger, was a big game, but it's not anymore because Southern Cal has fallen. So they didn't get in, and part of the reason they didn't get in is that they're not in a conference. And some would say, well, hold on, I watch Notre Dame basketball in the ACC. Well, it's true. Notre Dame is in the ACC conference major in every sport but hockey and college football, because they have their own contract with NBC, and they think they're too good. So therefore they don't play in a championship game, which can help you a little bit. And they got left out because Miami and Notre Dame were the final two teams, and Miami beat Notre Dame. I mean, is that a novel idea that you have a head-to-head matchup? One team wins, one loses, but they wouldn't let. But Notre Dame said we belong in there, and their athletic director just went scorched earth. He went on the Dan Patrick Show on Monday and just started making a bunch of threats. He doubled down at a press conference. He actually said something. He said, no school in college football has ever had a better 10-game record than we have, meaning after the two losses. I was on ESPN this week, and one of the statistical guys already came up with. That's not even true. They were the fourth best team this year. This year for that 10-game period. So I don't want to call the guy a liar, but he's a liar. He made threats about the ACC. He made all kinds of threats that he couldn't back up. And even some of his own colleagues. This is not like Washington, where everything's a blood sport. Usually, people in college football are collegial. That's part of the problem. They're too collegial.
Right.
And he's been really made out to be a fool this week. Although he's a very bright guy.
When the Big 12 commissioner goes after you, you know things have broken down a little bit. So,
one thing. His name is Pete Bakava. He was the former head of the PGA. In August of this year, not to get too deep in the Washington weeds, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, and Bakava played golf with the president of the United States with the intent of solving all the problems in college football. And now he's one of the biggest problems. Not Trump, but
no.
The Notre Dame athletic director.
You can catch my full and very lively conversation with Paul Finebaum on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform.